Lisa Jenkins is a life coach. She has helped hundreds of people who experience mindset challenges such as procrastination, self-sabotage, and lack of self-love and self-belief to overcome the emotional walls that hold them back. In this podcast, we speak with Lisa about how we can be our own worst enemy and how a simple shift of changing your inner voice can transform your life and your future. I'm your host, Tina Brunei. A warm welcome to you all. Lisa, the first question I have for you is the title of this conversation, which is The Voice Within You. What is that, and how would you describe it to our clients?
I think of the voice within you as your unconscious mind, or otherwise known as your ego. I relate to an unconscious mind a little bit better. And an unconscious mind is an immediate response to things that happen around you. And it is really important to understand your unconscious mind and the things that it's telling you, because it's important to know it's not always true. And so we need to be able to learn how to control your unconscious mind and guide it so that it's helpful to achieving your goals and where you want to be in life, rather than just believing it and trusting it and going with it.
So when you say unconscious mind, a lot of us think, if it's unconscious, how do I know what that sounds like or feels like for me? How do we recognize that voice, I guess, if it is unconscious and more subtle?
You would recognize it because it's generally immediate, so it instantly pops into your mind. The thing to recognize is it helpful? Because your immediate response or your internal voice might be helpful. You might be right on track with your unconscious mind or your ego and what it's telling you. So what I like to think, rather than is it wrong or is it right, is it helpful? And so is this actually going to help me get where I want to go in what I'm thinking and what I'm believing, or is it actually going to sabotage my efforts and the things that I do? So, yeah, that's the angle that I more like to go on, rather than judging it and then getting into this self-critical spirit of, oh, what am I thinking that for? Rather than just saying, okay, is this helpful? Is it resourceful, or is it unresourceful? And that's how I prefer to look at it, and how I like to help my clients look at it too. I think we can very easily get into judging ourselves too much, and typically judging ourselves quite harshly. An unconscious mind is recognizing that it's generally immediate to a response to something, and then I like to go to that next step and saying, is this helping me get where I want to be, or is it not?
If our unconscious mind is speaking to us in a way that it isn't helpful, what are some of the things that we can do to address that dialogue and re-steer it to be helpful?
So first of all, it's important to know that the primary role of your unconscious mind, or your ego, or that inner dialogue, is to keep you safe. That's what it's there for. And so while safe is good, we all like to be safe and be protected. However, typically, magic doesn't happen in safe places, and often we are required to step outside of our comfort zone for that magic to occur, or to give it the potential of occurring. So it's important to recognize why what your unconscious mind is trying to do, that it is trying to keep you safe, and that's not a bad thing. Sometimes we need to listen to that unconscious mind. If it's telling you don't walk down that dark alley, or don't walk across the road right now, or whatever, it is important. Okay, so just want to put that out there. It's not always wrong. Some things to do or recognize when you realize that your inner dialogue is not supporting where you want to be or your dreams is first of all to have awareness. And that's really, really difficult in our busy society. We can It's very hard to have that still time to recognize actually what's happening. Usually we go from thing to thing to thing without even paying attention to what that inner voice is saying to us. So having awareness is actually 95% of the journey. So if you can actually bring awareness into what your inner voice is saying, that's a big first step. So often people will say, oh, when I lie down in bed at night, my mind goes crazy. Or when I'm in the shower, I have the best creative things that I could do with my day or at work or whatever. It's because your mind's actually having the chance to stop and not do anything. Putting in some time to actually think about what is this voice saying to me is really, really important, because then you can actually determine, is it helpful, is it not? So that's what you can instantly do straight away. If you discover that it's not helpful, then it's about... So there's a few different things that we can do here, but first it's all about recognizing that that inner voice is coming from your beliefs. Okay, and your beliefs generally come from a story that you tell yourself. Okay, so if we think back to from the ages of 0 to 7, they're known as our imprinting years. Okay, and so when things happen to us in our imprinting years, we typically attach a story to it, a meaning. Okay, and when that it might be right or wrong, it's a 0 to 7-year-old's thinking, it's a child thinking, and they put some meaning behind something that happened to them. And then what happens throughout life is that we go about proving that that meaning is true. It was something that we attached to an event or something that happened, and then the rest of our life we unconsciously go about proving that that meaning's true. So what you can do if you find out as an adult is recognizing that, oh, my inner voice is not helping me, is actually saying, okay, well, what meaning am I attaching to some of the events that are happening in my life? And that could have stemmed right back to your imprinting years. The other thing to recognize is that nothing has meaning except the meaning we give it. Meanings can be changed. Actually recognizing, can I attach a different meaning to something that is happening in my life? The way that I'm thinking at the moment may not be the only way of thinking about this. And so actually having the time or having a person to work through you with some of that stuff is really helpful, because a lot of people find it difficult to do on their own, and it requires actually attaching different meaning and some different beliefs around what you believe. That's one thing certainly that can be done, but awareness is 95% of the journey. If you don't know it, you can't change it.
And I suppose one of the examples that often comes up in our organisation is with clients who have experienced low vision or blindness and have had that internal dialogue of believing that they are not capable of achieving certain goals that sighted people perhaps achieve. And that often can be restrictive for them in even pursuing that goal. What advice would you give clients like that to help them overcome some of those fears and to change that internal dialogue so that it enables rather than disables them?
Going back to recognizing that the beliefs that someone might have around their limitations either serves, I like to ask 4 things. Does believing this serve me, support me, nurture me, or challenge me? So serve, support, nurture, or challenge. Now, if you answer no to some of those questions, actually believing this doesn't serve me or support me or nurture me or challenge me, then you're actually faced with a choice of either continuing to believe what you think and the story that you're telling yourself, or you have an opportunity to change those beliefs so that what you believe does serve you, does support you, does nurture you, and does challenge you. And everyone is placed within or has that as a choice, regardless of the challenges that people are faced with. And I myself, I have my own particular health challenges, and I know that my thinking can get unstuck regularly. And what I start to believe about myself and what I can achieve can get affected. And so it's about saying, whoa, Lisa, you're actually, what you're thinking right now or believing right now about yourself isn't serving you or supporting you, nurturing me or challenging me. So I think that's a first thing, taking a good look at your beliefs and going and asking those 4 questions is a great start. Your beliefs will either sabotage you or support you. And so, and no one is exempt from having that ability to be able to do that. And that's something straight away. I actually have a great coaching model, which is not mine. I can't take credit for it. It's a very, very simple coaching model, which I actually use in every area of my life, with my relationships, with my husband or my daughters, or I've even done it for holidays, and I especially do it for my work. And the model is called Be, Do, Have. Okay, so be, do, have. Pretty simple. And the funny thing with this model is you need to start at the end. You need to start with, well, what is it that you want to have? Okay, and you need to be really clear about that have. So not just, oh, I want to have a job. Actually, well, if your job was exactly as you wanted it to be, what would it look like, sound like, feel like? Picture it exactly what it is that you want to be. Get really, really crystal clear about that have. Once you know what you want to have, then you actually jump to the start of the model again and you work out, well, who do I need to be to have that? Okay, and your being is, once jumping straight back to the start of our conversation, is all about your beliefs and that internal dialogue that's telling you, because your being, who you are being, what you are believing, will always undo or support the doing, which is in the middle, to get what you want to have. Okay, so start with the end in mind. Get really, really, really clear. And, some people will really be able to communicate clearly what it is that they want to have and don't have any grey areas there. Then go back to who you are being. And then, only then, do we do the doing. So there's quite a bit of work to do before you can actually put something into practice to help you reach your dream goals, regardless of limitations. Most of society would jump straight into doing. They won't think about what they want to have. They won't think about who they're being or what they're believing. They'll jump straight into the doing and wonder why they're not succeeding. So set yourself up for success. Be, do, have. What is it that you want to have? Who do I need to be to have that? And then it'll actually be really make your doing so much clearer. What do I need to do to have that? That might be things like I need to contact so-and-so because they have a job in that space. Or it might be that I want to have a practice interview with my friend because that will set me up to succeed. All of those things. But first, have, be, then do.
Lisa, thank you for coming in today. If you enjoyed the message shared by Lisa, please let us know. You can connect with me on tina.brunei@visionaustralia.org. That's Tina, T-I-N-A, .Brunei, B-R-U-N-E-T, @visionaustralia.org. Vision Australia also provides support and services to help you achieve your goals, be they vocational or personal focused. Connect with us online and we can explore this option with you. Our website is www.visionaustralia.org. Thank you for listening.